Harihi Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yadkrupatamaham Vande Paramanandamadhavam. Om Shishya Atma Samarpan Karpanya Upahata Swabhavaha Pritchami Tvam Dharma Sammuda Cheta Yashreyasyan Nishchitam Bruhi Tanme Shishyasteham Shadhimam Tvam Prapannam. Om. So, welcome to the Bhagavad Gita class. We are in the 25th shloka of Bhagavad Gita, and we had completed the introduction of the shloka in our previous class. Today, we will go into the Bhashyam. As I started with, today we happen to lose one of a very nice person, very sweet person, my wife's brother-in-law, and a very, very close companion of mine. He passed away out of a cardiac arrest. So we are dedicating today's Bhagavad Gita class for him, for his soul to rest in peace, for him to get the Sadgati. Continuing our class, the shloka goes like this. Avyaktoyamachintyoyam avikaryoyamuchyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanushochitumarhasi. Avyaktaha ayam achintyaha ayam. So there are two qualifications for the beginning, that it is not something that you can experience in a physical form. That is what the avyaktaha means. Or it can even be in the subtle form, because it can be mind-based, thought-based and so on. But Bhagavan has also used achintyaha to ensure that there is no gap. Right? So through any of the Praman, the Bhagavan cannot be realized. The Atma cannot be seen, witnessed, or learned about. Right? It is avikarya, means there is no change that happens to the Atman. And it is told so where we saw the reference to the Veda. Tasmad evam viditva enam. Enam is this Atma. Viditva evam. Knowing it in this way. Viditva, knowing it. Na anushochitum arhasi. Which is, there is no point in lamenting. That is the sar of this shloka. In the Bhashyam, Śaṅkaracharya puts it as avyaktaha sarva karana vishayatvad, because it is the causal aspect of every manifestation, and hence it is avyaktaha. Although it is the substratum, as in the base, the foundation of all that is created, of all cause and effect that you see in life, it in itself, the soul in itself, is not revealed to the senses, because the senses are dependent on the soul to give the experience that you are getting. Right? And because of that, the sense organs are unable to see it from within. Even now, you cannot see your own face. The only way you can see it is in a mirror. But that which you see in a mirror is not your face, and it is your face. That is the way that we should learn about Atma as well. That is what the underlying concept is. Therefore, it is also called Achintya, inconceivable. Because only objects that can be perceived by the senses can be thought about clearly. That is what he emphasizes, Shankaracharya. He brings that particular connection to say that for me to know something, I should have a knowledge of that. Very interesting way of putting it. Right? It may not have the characteristic, but it should have the anubhavam. We saw this before, to say that knowing something, there are two ways. One is through an experience, and another is through the knowledge. Right? You need to have one of the two to be able to experience anything. And hence, because Atma is beyond it, it is inconceivable. Now, further, Shankaracharya says, Niravayatvat cha avikriyah nahi niravayam kaschid. I'll skip the Sanskrit for now. Furthermore, the self is avikriyah, unchanging. Right now, he gives the example of like a curd and similar materials which undergo a change and transformation, but the self does not. Right? So there are various transformation that we can think about. One is from within itself. That is the example of the curd that is being used here in our explanation. Whereas there are other things which go with a reaction to the other. Both of them are not applicable to Atma. Why? Because Atma is Niravayah. Avayavam is Angam, is parts of the body. Because it doesn't have parts of body, it is something that cannot be having any kriya associated with it. Only things that are made of parts can undergo a change. Breaking apart, modifying the part, cutting it, etc. can happen only if it is made of several parts. Anything truly without parts cannot change. That is what he puts an emphasis in his Bhashyam. Further, Shankaracharya says, therefore, knowing the self in this way means as in it is unmanifested, it is inconceivable, it is unchanging, etc. Oh, you Arjuna, you should not grieve thinking I am killing them or they are being killed. Then an additional point that Shankaracharya makes is, even if for the sake of argument one assumes the self is not eternal, hypothetically, giving an example, that is what Bhagavan Krishna has done. Krishna says this logic and teaching would still apply. This shloka is therefore a preparation to the next shloka where this will be directly communicated. And that even from a purely empirical material point of view, a lamentation is not warranted. That is the way Acharya puts his emphasis. After having told that, he introduces the 26th shloka here, accepting the non-eternality or the impermanence of the self. Hypothetically, what is the way that one should look at? That is being said in the next shloka, in the 26th shloka. So that is how he brings the connection from one shloka to the other. Going into the 26th shloka, अथ चैनं नित्यजातं नित्यं वा मन्यसे मृतं तथापि त्वं महाबाहो नैनं शोचितुमर्हसि. Ath chainam, that is, if, however, cha enam, and also etc. Enam, this, about this Atma. Nitya Jatam. It is every day it is born, very similar to your body. If you take it like that also. Nityam va manyase mritam. And you further also think that every day it also dies. As in, the soul is born and dies and born and dies and born and dies. Even if in case you think of it in that way, tathapi, tatha, api is the way that it goes. Even then, tvam, you, mahabhaho. He calls Arjuna as mahabhaho, one with big hands. Now, it doesn't mean that physically it is big. The Mahabahu is something that emphasizes that he has very generous or very capable hands. That is what the term Mahabahu represents. Na enam. On this, you should not shochitum. You should not feel the sorrow about. There is no point in lamenting. It is not worthy of lamenting. That is what Bhagavan says in this shloka. So, what is the objective that Bhagavan has in his friend? Address the cause of sorrow that Arjuna is facing. Arjuna says that I don't know what to do. You tell me that which is good for me. Yetu shreyah, right? Bruhi tat me is the way that Arjuna tells Krishna. So now Lord Krishna has taken the possibilities. Okay, you are feeling the sorrow because you are going to kill the kinsmen or Bhishma and Drona, right, who are very dear to Arjuna. So you are of that opinion. So when you say you are killing, first possibility is you are killing their Ātman. The nature of Atma itself is not killable. So there is no point. The second one is Anatma, the body. Okay, I agree. Atma doesn't die, but I'm killing their body, right? The body is every day killed, every moment killed, and it is born, right? Given that aspect, there is no point in lamenting. That is where Bhagavan is going towards right now. Right, so he will take the third one, which will be after this set of shlokas. There will be 7 shlokas, I think 7 or so. No, I think up to 31, 26, 27, 28, 29, 6 shlokas. Sorry, 5 shlokas, and 31st shloka, he will start the other one actually. But he will be now addressing it from the Anatma point of view. And then he will be going into the third possibility. Okay, I agree that there is no point in killing it is not possible to kill the Atma. There is no point in thinking about Anatma because it is every moment it is getting killed and reborn. So there is no point. The same thing happens after what we call as death as well. But why should I do it? That could be the question. Why should I be the cause of such a death to happen to them? Why can't it naturally happen? Right there, the dharma point of view, that which is right. As a Kshatriya, it is your dharma. He is going to emphasize that in the shlokas from 31 to 37. And that is the way the Bhagavad Gita is proceeding. He is going to address all the possibilities of Arjuna's sorrow, and he is going to negate each of them. Going in this particular shloka, the value that we look at is we need to understand what is the situation and what is the cause of someone's feeling. If someone is approaching you, try to put an understanding on what is the point at which they are coming. And they may be totally wrong, no doubts at all. The best example is seeing a snake where there is actually a rope. But what is important is to align yourself with their thinking. Hey, the snake that you are seeing, no, I have accepted adhyaropam. then apavadam, saying that that is not a snake. Right? So that is the learning that we have to have in how we want to address. Be quick to understand the other person's situation and then provide a guidance. This is especially very, very applicable for all the leaders. Right? If you don't understand the other's point of view, then you will not be able to lead them efficiently. So develop that ability to align yourself, but be firm in directing them on the right path. This is the value that we get from this shloka. Now, the first step was to establish that there is nothing called a death to the soul. So Bhagavan removed the possibility of Atma being killed. Now he is going into the Anatma. In Shastra, it is called Abhyupeda Vadam. Right? Abhyupeda means Abhi, Upa is the prefix that we add to it. Right? Acceptance of a possibility. Right? Then Vadam, taking the argument put forth after accepting for the sake of discussion, that is called as Abhyupeda Vadam. The term Atha refers to or means in case in this situation. We have used the term Atha in various other concepts. The term Atha, for those who have come to the Brahma Sutra class, they know Athato Brahma Jignasa. Even in Bhagavad Gita, when we start something, it is considered to be a very Mangala sound as well. It is considered to be very auspicious. Right? So there are various meanings for the term Atha. We have discussed about that in the Brahma Sutra class. Herein, it is not that kind of a meaning which is put forth. It is not to declare a beginning of a new concept. Here, the Atha refers to in this situation. Atha cha enam. Right? Now, what do you say? Because it is also used when we discussed about the term Atha, we had seen so many meanings that are associated with that word Atha. Right? So here the context emphasizes that it should be used as even though. Atha, atha, right? Even if. Right? So that is the meaning. So for people who may wonder as to, hey, you have spoken about Atha in a different concept and in a context, and now you are saying a different meaning. The reason is because the word in itself is a very generic word. And in this situation, for this flow, the word Atha will emphasize that even in case. Right? So that kind of a lead is given. So that is what is the explanation that we need to keep in our mind. This underscores the error in vision of most of us. We tend to think the death to be real, as in it eliminates one's existence, because for us the existence is associated with body, not body is associated with existence. We should see that particular difference. Body and existence are not denied. The problem is in body seeing the existence. That is the cause of our confusion. The samsara, the experience of ups and downs that you go through, is all because of this one simple error that we do. Once you erase this error and you understand that the existence is the base for the body and not body is the base for existence, the whole equation of seeing the life changes. Further, in the shloka, Bhagavan says, Nityam jatam, nityam mritam va manyase. Nitya is punah punah, again and again, over and over. This also we took the example of what is the difference between Nityam and Sthanuhu. Right? So when we were looking at that, the everlasting aspects of it, we took two examples to say that the sunrise which comes and goes is referred to from a Nityam point of view. So Nitya Jatam, Nityam Mritam. Every day it is born and dies and borns and dies. Va is and, or it can also be used as war, or it can also be used as or. Right. So Nitya Jatam and Nitya Mritam is the way that you can add it. You can use this va in various contexts, like an adjective. Manyase. Manyase is if you think so. Right? If you consider it to be so. Now, this shows both alignment of Guru to the Shishya, as well as it eliminates Bhagavan considering it as a possibility. Right? So, if you think so, very clearly says that I don't think so. Right? That is again a figurative speech. Therein, if I say, if you think so, you are not only aligning yourself with the other person's thought, but you are also very clearly keeping yourself away from committing to think on those lines. Another very important aspect with respect to communication. What is important is if someone says that, hey, Bhagavan has said, right, Nitya Jatam, Nityam Mritam, right? So you can say that, please note, Vamanyase is there. So Bhagavan has not accepted, has not considered it as a possibility. He is very clearly keeping his distance away from it. Here, it is to align as a guru with the Sishya Bhava, Sishya's expression, Sishya's assumptions. Right? Such could be your thought, is the way that we look at. Now, tatha api, even if that is the case, enam shochitum, in this way to think of na arhasi, in this way to feel sorrow about, in this way to lament, na arhasi, not worthy of. Right? You remember when we spoke about arhasi, the arhat, there were 4 concepts. We had spoken about it so that we don't, these are all very, very important learning, right? When we go through our expressions and we understand the depth of every word that we are speaking, our communication strengthens. One of the most important values of learning Vedanta is to increase your capability in communication. It may not be politically too correct, but it will be absolutely clear when you are speaking to somebody. This develops as we learn about it. Recalling, the worthiness is one of the meanings. Basically, it addresses the merit of a subject. Fitness, it is the appropriateness attached to that. Then an obligation, right? It is moral or logical reasoning for doing a specific, for taking a specific stance on that. We also use arhasi from the entreaty point of view, which is more along the lines of showing humility towards the person whom you are addressing. Right, so that won't be applicable here, but the most important thing is these are all the values associated with arhasi. Why is this so will be conveyed in the following shloka. Acharya comes in and gives a brief note on this. Or for the sake of argument, accepting hypothetically, suppose you think that Ātman is Nitya Jatam. It is always born. Every time a body is born, you believe that Atma is born. Likewise, you think that at the death of each body, Atman dies. Even then, even if in case Arjuna is thinking that Atman is like that, you should not grieve. Why so? Because for that which is born, destruction is inevitable, and for that which is destroyed, birth is inevitable. Thus, birth and death are unavoidable natural process, and there is nothing to lament over it. Will you have sorrow? Yes. But will it cripple you? No. You will have sorrow as a bodily expression, and in the Atma, at the Atma level, or in your own self as I, it will not be a sorrow, but a gratitude for having the association with such a wonderful person, right? For the company that he had given while that particular Jivan continued. So those are all the reasons there can be a sorrow that can affect you, but it cannot impact you. That term lament is basically where that shokam is going to cripple you, is going to break you down, is going to bring about a change in you. That will not happen because you understand that you are the Atman and there is no change in that Atman. Proceeding to the next shloka, the shloka number 27. Jatas hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmada pariharyerthe natvam shochitumarhasi. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu, which is Jatasya, one who is born. He, for sure, certainly. Dhruvaha, it is fixed. There is nothing that can change. Mrityuhu, death. So if I am born, if this body is born, it has to die. No matter, even if in case you take the case of the mouse in front of me or the laptop into which I'm speaking right now, everything has to die. Anything that is born, anything that is created will have a date of expiry. Similarly, dhruvam janma mritasya cha. This is a concept that we have to accept. There is nothing called as we know it, or we can look at it from a material point of view and see that it is not dying. It is getting only converted. Everywhere we see the transformation. So that which dies is not going to be born exactly as the same. There is no such repetition at all. Exactly same is not in the prakritic swarup at all. There is no repetition, right? So dhruvam janma mritasya cha. For one who dies, it is also certain that there is a rebirth. And now we can discuss at length on this particular concept, right? Tasmad apariharyerthe. Therefore, tasmad apariharye means that which is unavoidable. Arthe, in that matter, in that subject, natvam shochitum arhasi. Very simple one. There is no point in you lamenting. Simple, easy fact that we all know. Right? So that is what Bhagavan is putting it here. Now, we know that we go in depth for learning how to think, how to communicate, and how to evolve and grow into the value stream. Let us do some analysis. Dhruvaha. The word dhruvaha is pretty small, but it carries layers of philosophical, linguistic, and psychological weight. The dhatu is the root. Okay, it is a, see, Sanskrit, as it called, well made. Sanskrit, the meaning itself is that which has been very well made. Right? It takes the root and grows. You can add elements to it and you can keep increasing the meaning. The name is not a proper noun, right? It is not like this is called as a mouse. Well, mouse is a bad example. It has got, in case a mouse means that which is small in shape, then we can say this is mouse. But mouse is said so because of the example of how a mouse looks like. Right, and that too with the cable that used to go in those days, it was definitely with the tail. Right, so because of its appearance, they had given this name. And the same thing goes in Sanskrit as well. Everything has the name associated based on a specific guna. Now, the dhatu for the word dhruvaha is dhr. Dhr is to be firm, fixed, steadfast, permanent, unchanging. The term is both an adjective, meaning unshakable, certain, etc., as well as a noun, like a pole star, dhruva, right? That the star that never moves, a symbol of permanence. Contextually, here it doesn't just mean sure to happen. It means it is firmly established in the very order of existence. It is not used in terms of an adjective as a property of something. Rather, it is to emphasize the firm establishment as a noun. Right? So the term dhr is used in this context, is the first clarification that we can learn here. There are three concepts when we speak about dhruvam. One is avashyam. Vashyam is within your control. Avashyam means that which is not in your control, inevitable. Right? So, and it is a very common term, even used in Tamil. Right? It is the emphasis is on helplessness. It is on compulsion. It is inevitability. That is what is avashyam. This is one concept of dhruvam. The second one is nityam, which is continuum of its existence, of its property, right? That is what is nityam. So the avashyam is nityam also. From that context, you should be able to see. Then dhruvam. Dhruvam is fixed, certain, unalterable, unwavering, etc. That is the cosmic order. To be born is to enter the field of change, which is what we call as kshetra. And in that kshetra, change itself is the only constant. That is the dhruvam. So Bhagwan uses this word to help replace the shock that Arjuna is facing with the understanding of the truth. This is not a chaos. It is not a dharma. It is not a, what is a exception. It is not something that can be avoided. He wanted to bring it in order. It is not cruelty. It is not himsa. Right? It is ritham. It is satyam. that cosmic order is the thing that he wants to emphasize in that place. And hence, Bhagavan has used the term dhruvaha. Jatas hi dhruvam mrityuhu, of that which has taken a birth, death is certain. Dhruvam janma mritasya cha, and birth is equally certain for the dead. Now we also add a second meaning, recognizing that law brings inner dhruvatha, steadiness like a pole star. In order to bring that steadfastness in Arjuna, Bhagavan is deliberately using the word dhruvaha. So these are all the analysis that we do when we study Bhagavad Gita or Veda or anything for that matter. Within the Vedantic scope of study, the way that we analyze is in this manner, where we try to go at each word and try to understand what is the depth to which we can take it. Tasmad, therefore, apariharya arte, in the matter which is unavoidable. That is the direct meaning. Apariharya. This adds the next dimension, inevitability and unavoidability within the cosmic order. This takes the root from hr, to take, to carry away, to remove, to avoid, etc. Pari is a prefix that emphasizes to turn around, to get around, to evade. That is what is the pari bringing it to the word. And the negative prefix is a, right? A represents not. So that which cannot be turned away, that which cannot be evaded, that which cannot be prevented is the way that we do the study. Birth and death are woven into the structure of manifestation. To resist what cannot be changed is to suffer needlessly. So Bhagavan's use of apariharya doesn't just describe inevitability. It teaches the intelligent acceptance of the unchangeable. Okay, so this word can be taken with a tamasic way or in a sattvic way also. When we say accepting the unchangeable, it also says that you should have the alertness and sattvika bhavam of understanding what is changeable and what is not changeable. Right? So that which is unchangeable is the place where we bring our acceptance. Now, how does the parampara think about it? In Advaita Darshana, it comes as inevitability within Prakriti, which is the nature's law. Right? In Vishishta Advaita, inevitability within Ishvara's niyati. Right? Ishvara's niyati is given a higher precedence. As you can see, in Advaita, it is to the Prakriti. Prakriti is naturally changing at all times, is this order. And that change is inevitable. Whereas in Vishishtadvaita, the Ishvara is the one who puts a divine order for a specific change to occur. Dvaita, inevitability within Ishvara's niyamam. Right? It is his will. It is his command. Right? So the only difference between Vishishtadvaita and Dvaita, in my understanding, I have not done as deep a study of those two darshanas, but to the extent that I have discussed and I have learned, the Vishishtadvaita Parampara says Ishvara has created an order and it is within that order that everything functions. In Dvaita, it is the God who puts forth the change. The vidhi is in the hands of, is in the control of the Ishvara as a concept. So these are all things that we can think about and question as to how to understand it, so that such a doubt does not come in our way of learning about the Atman. Tvam shochitum arhasi, na tvam shochitum arhasi. You should not lament over such a situation. So what we teach is, again, this may not be truly applicable to Jnani, because to Jnani we don't teach. Jnani has the Jnana. They know what is to be done. At the most, we can go and learn from them. But for commoners, the thing that we always say is, when you encounter a situation that impacts you, the first reaction should be to try and change. Put your effort into changing. That effort not only strengthens your ability to accept the situation, but also gives you very, very valuable lessons which you can carry. Once you see that it is inevitable, then you will be able to accept it. And for that acceptance, it won't be a lip service of acceptance. It will be accepted in the core. And you will say, okay, this is the situation, I accept it. That maturity of acceptance will come only when you put your effort for trying to change a situation which is impacting you. We will speak about it from the point of view of Kshetra Paripalana, what is our dharma and so on separately. But that is something that you always need to keep in mind. If without putting an effort, if you are saying an acceptance, that acceptance though is not, okay, I take it, man, it's okay. But deep within you, you will be always boiling about it. Whether you yourself know it or not, this will develop into a pressure. When you put the effort, that pressure is removed, and you will be able to accept it gracefully without any impact to yourself. So that is the biggest value that one must carry from this shloka in Bhagavad Gita. Though that is not directly told by Bhagavan, but it is just in the Sampradaya, we try to emphasize this value which we can gain from this shloka. In Bhashyam, Acharya also makes it very simple and easy. For one who is born, jatasya, mrityuhu, death, is certain, dhruvam. No, avyabhichari is the word that he is using. It is inevitable and without exception. And similarly, for one who dies, mritasya, janmam, dhruvam. It is again certain, birth is again certain. Therefore, this cycle, the birth and death, is unavoidable, apariharya. Since this is the natural and inevitable law, law which governs all of us, all the living beings, you, as an Arjuna, should not grieve, na shochitum arhasi, over that which cannot be prevented, is the way Acharya is giving in the Bhashyam. Now, he goes to introduce the 28th shloka. You may all be wondering, hey, he is continuously telling about that which is born has to die. We know it. It is an experience. How are you going to establish that that which dies is born again? We have in the upcoming shlokas a deep dive. So I am deliberately skipping that line of questioning. But once we complete it, we can open it up for even deeper discussions. Now, here Acharya introduces the 28th shloka. The body, mind, sense, karya, karana, sangat, sangam, right? Sangat, which is just a combination of cause and effects. Even for a person seeking the self, atmakamni api, even for one who desires to realize the true self, grieving over living beings, bhutani, is not appropriate. Na uktaha kartum is the way that Acharya has put it. Sorrow is not to be engaged in because yataha, the true understanding recognizes that bodies are just a temporary aggregation of matter and not the self. The thing that is very clearly known to us, but that which we conveniently overlook is this point, which is, hey, when I was born, let us assume, right? Let us not even go from the garbham, right? We are not going from that, from the womb point of view. Let us say from the time you are born, you were this much. Now you are this big. What is it that has been added? How is it that you grew into it? Right? You have borrowed things from outside to establish yourself into this body. When you have borrowed, it is but natural that it will be going back. Right? So that aspect of it, we keep forgetting. And knowing this, what we will develop as a value is to remove the abhiman from this body. Right? It doesn't mean you're going to become careless, because that is not a sattvic nature. It is in your, or it is under your protection, under your, what do you say, ashrayam, right? Under your ashraya, what is it called? Under your uh, dependence, right? It is dependent on you. This body is dependent on you. And that which is dependent on you, you must put the best effort to bring the justice for that. Right? You must do all that which is possible. And what Ātman does is provides the base. Right? So we need to understand that we have to do. But knowing that, hey, this body is just a temporary accumulation of earth and other, the five elements, we will be able to understand that the change that we are talking about is inevitable. So that is what he uses for introducing the shloka number 28. This is going to be a very important and a very deep dive shloka, right? On the face of it, it is a very simple one. The shloka goes like this. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyaktanidhananyeva tatra ka paridevana. So, on the face of it, avyakta adhini bhutani means it is in an unmanifested form. Adi is the beginning. How it was? Avyaktam. Vyaktam is manifested. Avyaktam is that which is not manifested. Bhutani, all that is created. What happens? Vyaktam madhyani. In the middle, they become manifested. Bharata, hey, Arjuna, the descendant of King Bharata, avyakta nidhananyeva. Nidhanani, that is die. That is the end of it, the completion of it. Right? So when one dies, they become unmanifested again. Indeed. Tatra ka paridevana. Tatra, therefore, ka, what is the purpose? What is the basis for paridevana, lamenting. This is the meaning of the shloka. We will go into the analysis in our next class, and we will try to keep it as much of in-depth analysis as possible. This will answer several of the questions. All right. And it will be a very eye-opening kind of a concept that we will be discussing. Most of it perhaps known to you too, but the way that we will be going is the traditional approach of going into each word and trying to provide the exact and accurate way to interpret this simple looking shloka. So for today, I will take a break here. But before I open it up for Q&A, I wanted to touch upon the question that Prabha had asked in the last class. I was not too fully convinced that I had answered it completely. The question is about what is it that I need to be completing, and then call it as my success or call it as the conclusion. And I had spoken about what is this word that you are using and how that translates into chasing after something. I want to again go back into our earlier classes wherein we were discussing about the purpose of life, the way that we see it here. It is Kshetra Paripalana and Dharma Rakshana. What is meant by that? I don't do anything. The subject is avikriya. There is no kriya that is associated with the base. So when I don't do anything, what is my role? The role is to provide that basis. But what is happening is this body is thinking that it is the base for the Ātman, which is what we discussed earlier, and with that abhiman starts engaging into papa karyam, into sinful acts, whether you know it or not. Right? Sometimes it could be, there can be two sides to anything that we discuss, and what you may think as very, very punya karya could be seen as a papa karyam also. We can talk about dharma in a lot of context. But when you provide yourself as a base to the body to function, the body will only function in a dharmic way. It is only your influence which the body takes as I, and that projection is the cause of the sinful acts. Responding to specific question of Prabhakar, so long as this I is associated with the body, you have to continue to execute. You have to continue to function. No matter in which body you are, whether in this body or some other body next, no matter. But you will have to continue to function. The moment you realize that you are the base, this continuity exists, but your role becomes independent of this body. That I has no kriya associated with it. When Śaṅkaracharya or the Advaita Parampara speaks about become an akarta, become a non-doer, that is what is the meaning. Realize that I am the soul. And when you liberate the association of I in the body can only perform dharma. You may legally call it as right, wrong, right? It could be punishable. Doesn't matter. The body will only perform the dharma. So a pursuit of something will not be there at all. The drive will not be there for the I to say, I have to do it. I need to complete it. The day you realize that I am the Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, this separation takes place. And if the separation doesn't take place, then you have not realized that position of a jnani. You may have a lot of knowledge, but you have not attained the position of a jnani. So I was thinking of how to put it, and uh, I said, okay, I will come to the class, I will put some time on this, try to explain it again, and if required, we can go and try in another dimension of explaining later. But this is a very important concept, so I thought I will take this time to explain it. With this, we will take a pause and go into Q&A. Prabhakar Bhaiya.
Hats off to you, Guruji.
Thank you.
God bless you. My condolences. No questions. And still
Absolutely, sir.
pondering how you could be so strong. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. For today, if possible, from your mind, do think in terms of, hey, Bhagavan, whatever the punya that comes from this pursuit of Bhagavad Gita, let it be going to the person who has left us today. And may his soul rest in peace.
I do.
Thank you. Jyoti ji.
Namaste, Guruji. No questions. Our condolences. Please accept our condolences.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah. Do tell Shyam Bhaiya that I could not take his call for long because there were others calling. So I had to take other calls as well.
Yeah, no worries. We understand, Guruji.
Yeah.
I
Harihi Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat.